How's it going, you glorious rascallion bastards? The name's FOXSOL. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to some more Mommy Milkers 10-10-10 here, or excuse me, WutheringWaves. Guys, today's video is going to be a quick basic video on a generalized build scenario that you should be working around for when it comes to Changli. Now, I've been testing several different things. We've worked on this within the live stream a couple of times here on YouTube. We've done a couple of different things off stream, and my build has changed drastically over time, especially when you get her to summon 6. So if you're investing in the character and you're really looking at trying to get her entire potential, well, I think I got you. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to discuss team composition. We're going to discuss everything here pretty much in a quick build guide that you should be working towards. So let's get into it. Alrighty. So Changli here is my most favorite character and the character I am really investing my time in. And I'm gonna tell you like this. All right. Doesn't matter what people say. Doesn't even matter what I say. Build how you feel like building, in all honesty. Just make sure that when you're building, you're complimenting the character, you're testing things, and you're making sure things work. Okay? Don't threaten, you know, if you make mistakes here and there, that's all part of learning. I'm going to say like this. There's a lot of content creators out there that's going to say that this is the best fucking thing. They're going to pop off. They're going to fight. They're going to do all this other stuff. And they're going to clickbait their way through things. And I'm too old to do that shit. Okay. So I'm just going to say this is not probably the best build because we're still working on building our build. But this is what I am looking at. This is where I'm going into. So I want to basically make that disclaimer. This is where I'm at now. This is my thoughts. This is what we're working on. And this is how we're going to get there. So generalness. This is the same thing I did when it came to Endless Judgment Virgil, when we did Peak of Combat, you know, character build videos. I have an understanding of what I want. Shit, I was at work today fucking looking at this. But we're going to, first and foremost, we're going to go into our team composition before we actually hit the character. Okay, and our team composition, in all complete honesty, is that right now we are running Changli, we're running Baichi, and we're running Tao. And the thing is that this right here, Baichi, this could be replaced, you know, with Varan. This could be even replaced with Jianxi. This is a character. Your support healer, if you're going to run a support healer, can be replaced with pretty much anybody. The only reason why this one's here on the team right now is because she's my best healer. She does over 4,000 heal, and it is glorious because when it comes to Changli right now, I made her a glass cannon. Basically, she's a nuclear warhead that she can't take a hit. Well, she could take like one hit. Okay, let's be honest here. She could take one hit, and then after that, any more hits, she'll really probably just poof, die. So we have Baichi that's just gonna make sure she stays healthy. Tao right now is the only other character that is, in my personal opinion, necessary. Truly necessary to pop off the full potential of Changli, and she's at level 70. I haven't upgraded her. She's good where she's at right now because all we need from her is her outro skill, and I'm still not done building her the way that needs to be built. I'm focusing all my attention on Changli right now, but Tao is going to make it because Changli, all her damage is going to come from her resonant skill. In all honesty, you're going to be playing with your resonant skill abilities more than anything else. There is like hardly any cooldown. Really, there is no cooldown. It is like straight up, you know, you're going to be hitting your skill and then you're going to be doing all these flashy moves and everything, and it's going to build up your enchantment, and the resonant skill damage is where it's going to be at. Your alt, trust me, it's good, but you're not going to be playing too much in that. You're going to be playing more, like I said, when it comes to the resonant skill abilities. So why I say that is because, like I said, we're at a summon 6, and before we get to echoes, I want to make sure you understand in this build, and I've done this in multiple videos already, I already know this, but we're going through this one last time and we're going quickly through this. But when you start summoning, and I would expect, you know, for someone who is free to play or who is, you know, who is very concerned about their money and they're not going to come all the way down to 6, I would say that, you know, summon 1, summon 2, all the way summon 3 is probably going to be really where a non-whale is going to stop. If anything, they're going to stop within the next 2 weeks at summon 3, because anything more is going to cost you a lot more money, and you're not going to get the free pulls unless you get really, really lucky. But, you know, with her hidden thoughts, resonant skill, and heavy damage sacrifice here, increases Changli's damage by 10%. Her second summon, Inflamed, will increase her crit rate by 25% for 8 seconds. And this is really good, and we're going to discuss this here and the reason why I changed something on my build. And Resonant Skills Liberation damage is increased by 80%. Polished Words, intro skill. This is where she is also not just a DPS, but we're making her a DPS on our team. Primarily, her team is going, her focus would be as a sub DPS, and I would put that with a different team together. If y'all want to know how to make her into a sub DPS, the team composition, everything else, I already am working on that. That's going to be a later build in the future. Right now, this is primarily just for DPS version of Changli. But yes, you could classify Changli primarily as a sub DPS. So before anyone tries to correct me on that. Sacrifice gains, heavy attack, you will increase, the multiplier will increase from 50%, and its damage dealt will be increased by 50%. And the final one, which is Resonant Skill, Heavy Skill Attack, and Resonant Liberation, all this will ignore 40% of the target's defense when dealing her damage. And then with our skill set and everything else, just to showcase, the last upgrade on this will make it to where, you know, her heavy attack and her resonant liberation, Changli's fusion damage will increase by 20%, and Changli will also ignore 15% of the target's defense when dealing damage. So technically, you're making that into 55%. Okay, without the skill side, but with the heavy attack and with the liberation, it goes up to 55%, ignoring straight up defense on the enemy, which is really fucking good. You're wiping out an enemies, tanking enemies really fast. I'll put it that way. My build currently, and this is not the build that I would do as a free-to-play person, but where we're at as, you know, level 6 right now, we also got her, before we get into that, excuse me, we also got Blazing Brilliance, which gives us a 48% to crit, and her attack is at 587, and as you can see, Crimson Phoenix's attack will increase 15%. The equipper will gain 1 stack of Searing Feathers, and upon dealing damage, which can be triggered once every 0.5 seconds, and gain 5 stacks of the same effect upon casting Resonant Skill. Each stack of Searing Feathers gives 5% of additional skill damage, bonus up to 14 stacks, and after reaching max stacks, all stacks will be removed in 12 seconds. So this all plays into something. Now we can get into the echoes. I apologize. Now we can get to echoes. So we have our weapon. We have it at rank 2, but you don't have to get rank 2. You can leave it at rank 1. We have her at summon 6. Now, there'll be 2 different types of echo builds that I would do in that case regards, but because I have her at summon 6, you'll notice that I went and said originally this was what we were using for, I'll do the first build. This is originally the build in the sense that I was doing when she was at summon 3, to where we were doing a crit rate, we were doing fusion damage bonus, attack, and attack. So this was our 4-3-3-1-1. And what I was trying to do, which, you know, I'll be honest with you, I wanted to get all the echoes up and going. I was going to go ahead and, you know, later this week, do more tacit fields and everything and start really trying to tune out and properly get echoes one at a time. I just threw echoes together just to basically, with whatever substats came out of it, just to make sure that I can make her viable. And trust me, this all works out really well just in general, because like liberation damage, you know, is something that you actually should probably pull in a substat for. Basic attack damage is not something we would be pulling for. Heavy attack damage is something we should be probably pulling for. resonance skill damage is what we should be really pulling for. So like some of these, you'll see that I have resonance skill damage bonus of 10%. This is something that, like I said, we're playing around, just like Jinshi, we're playing around the skill. And with Changli in particular, the skill is really fucking good. Crit damage, crit rate, and everything is fine. When it came to being a summon 3, I wanted to make sure that my crit rate was always going to be over 55%. And even though I had lacking, 212 crit damage, it was fine. I wanted to be able to make sure that I was critting really hard. But then I noticed something, with her at summon 6, I don't need this. We don't need any echoes that has crit rate. What we need is an echo that truly handles crit damage. And I would love to have seen this to have been, changed to where this basic would have been a skill base as well, or liberation, or even heavy damage on here. But this is what we got: basic and skill damage 7.9. I wish this would have been tuned a little bit better. But then this drops my crit rate down to 45%, you say, and it's like, well, you're at 45% now. That's kind of bad, Well, let's go fight something real quick. There's a reason why I'm not worried about crit rate no more on this character. It's because this character in general does not need any kind of real crit rate stats. Just like sub crit rate stats are perfectly fine. You don't need a main crit rate stat. You don't even need energy regen on her. You're building up her skills way super fucking fast that you don't even notice that you need that true energy regen. If you get it in, a sub stat, that's great. But just going straight into this, we can come here. See, it says 45.4%. So let's go ahead and get into our inflaments. Look at that. Going into inflamement with that 25% increasement. Crit rate right now is at 70%. And here's the thing. As long as I continue doing this is what I wanted to talk about, the 8 seconds. As long as I continue staying in my inflaments right here, this is what I noticed. This doesn't drop. It's like it resets the time clock for the 8 seconds over and over. And you're just going to continue doing that. Like if you're against bosses, you're against a crowd, you need crowd control. As long as you're attacking, you're performing your skill damage, crit rate is going to be over 50%. And that's exactly where I wanted to be at. So focusing on putting a main stat crit rate isn't viable, in my personal opinion. Like, you want to put it into crit damage, attack, skill damage, and everything else. Crit rate is going to go above 50%. As long as you have, a couple of substats, you have her weapon, which is also, I believe, it gives you what, 40-some% anyway? Yeah, 48% crit rate with a 25% boost on that. Bro, we're cooking. We are cooking with her as it is already. So there is no need to have that main stack. Now, if what is it? If you're pretty much, summon 1 or under, I would say, yeah, if you're past this one, you're summon 1 right here, or you're 0 summon, you're going to want main crit rate as your stat to try to balance out, to make sure you're getting over that 50%, because you're not going to be getting that from inflamement. So you're going to want more of a balanced build. But once you get past certain things, just like I'm noticing right now, we're trying to build her to where I want her to hit as hard. I don't want her just, some obligatory number. I don't want it to be like, oh, that's good enough. I want her to come in and hit as hard as possible. And with Tao, this is where, I got level 70 Tao right now, right? That's entire job is to do one thing, is to build her outro as fast as possible. This is all I want, because we want that resonant skill damage increase. And I'm going to show you right quick what I'm talking about. So with Tao, right now we got to where she's going to get into her outro. her outro is that when the incoming resonator has their comes in, right? The incoming resonator will have their resonant skill damage amplified by 38%. Now ZZ is going to be coming in on around August 15th. Hopefully she'll be the first one. She's going to have it to where she's going to be doing the same thing, but it's for 48%. And I was discussing this before for Jinshi. That character is going to be cracked for Jinshi, but that would be a character to be also cracked for Changli. Really, it would be 100%. So we now have, as you can see, we now have it to where we have a full meter. So we could just bring in our girl and we could just spam the shit out of our resonance skills, and look at the damage. Look at the damage on this tanky ass fucking monstrosity. Because if you know what I'm talking about, you fight this motherfucker. In all honesty, they're one of the tankiest characters, one of the tankiest not bosses, but enemies in the game that you guys sit there for a good solid minute wailing until you knock them out of stamina, and then you can beat the shit out of them. With that additional 38%, and with how Changli is right now, how we have her built right now, it's a powerhouse. And that's why I would say, yeah, recommended build wise is that I'm going for right now, since there's no other fusion boss to test raw stats with, that yes, go with a 4-3-3-1-1. And you can change this, by the way. I'm pretty sure you could change both of these to do, you said both fusion damage. You can make them one fusion damage, one attack. I don't see the necessary need. I want them to burn like a motherfucker. Like I said, I want this to be a nuclear warhead that when it hits the ground, that it burns everything. So I did both my two elites as fusion damage bonuses for 30%. So that makes it 60% fusion damage bonus. And then I left my ones at both the attack, and then we left it at a crit damage base boss. So these are the main stats that I was looking at, and it's working really well for me at a summon 6. Like I said, when I was before, summon 1 to summon 3, we were doing this, and it was working same type build, but we were doing crit rate over crit damage. It was working just as well. It's not as good as what I'm seeing now. Like, I see an actual drastic increase by changing the crit damage, but beforehand, the more balanced build doing, and I even had changed one of these to energy regen refinement too, so that way the energy regen, was also there to help out. I don't need it no more. I don't need the energy regen no more. I don't need the crit rate no more. This is the build. This is what I'm going to be working on currently with my build, and I'm going to be, whenever it's finalized, I'm going to do a full showcase of the entire build as it is. I just want to make a quick video in a sense saying, like, look, depending on where you're at, this is the idea of what you're looking at. You're trying to look like, if you're going to a balanced build, you're probably going to want to put maybe more crit rate, more crit damage in a certain degree. I would say you want to make sure that Changli is going to be over a 50% crit rate, and then everything else could be crit damage. You're going to want to make sure that you at least have fusion damage bonus, maybe one of these as also an attack bonus, main stats. And then you're going to want 2 attacks. And then you're going to want to round off making sure your resonant skill, resonant liberation, and heavy damage are the 3 stats that you're really trying to focus to make sure that you're collecting on them to help complement her skill values. Look, I'm simping for mommy here, okay? I'm looking at every type of build that I can do on her. I have a sub DPS build, which is completely different in mine, but we're going to get into that probably next week-ish, when we're going to discuss, how we're going to do that. And if you want that idea, and I'll tell you right now, when I do live streams, make sure you get the announcements. I was supposed to do a live stream today, but I'm going to be honest, I got tired. I went to bed. I went early, and then I woke up at 9 o'clock at night, and I said, well, I want to make videos instead. But I'm going to try to do at least, live streams at least 2 to 3 times a week on the channel. And if you guys are interested in that, and you want to discuss more Changli, more builds and characters, more team compositions, you want to give me some ideas, you want me to try different things, and you want to help test out some things, come on in, let's have a ball, let's talk, let's get a couple of drinks, let's be friends, and let's just go ahead and worship mommy the way she was meant to be. So otherwise than that, guys, take it easy. I will go ahead, I will catch you guys on the flip side, and trust me, when it comes down to it, this is the most beautiful character, and if you are going to invest like I did, I promise you, you're not going to regret it. So Have a good one. Take it easy. Catch you on the flip side. Peace.